listening to Inclusive AF with Jackye Clayton and Katee Van Horn.
Welcome.
Hello to the Inclusive AF podcast. This is Jackye Clayton.
And this is Katee Van Horn. And
This
our
is
third
Cairo.
Cairo. So for those of you who are just listening and not watching, we have a special guest today, Cairo, who is the cute little white floofy dog.
Adorable.
What kind of dog is this?
I think he's a Maltese.
Okay.
But
so
he's just like the most adorable dog, and he has to sit in my lap all day. So he kind of joins, the ultimate lap dog. Well, how have you been doing? You've been on vacation, you've done some things.
Tell the people. So I have left Web Pros and am looking for my next role as Chief People Officer, CHRO, maybe doing some consulting. I don't know. Did take a week off and had some fun and adventures in Mexico. Always a good time. And now I get to spend time with my favorite person, Jackye Clayton. But I am glad that Cairo is joined the Clayton pack.
Yes, well, he comes every day. And, he's just as happy to leave as he is to, that look where it's like, oh, okay. So,
yeah. Okay, I'm here. Okay, bye-bye. Yeah.
Right. Well, I guess it is good. It's great to be able to have that. And if you hear little bells, those are all the pups. But, people who follow my journey know that there's lots of dogs around. But also what's around is football. Are we just we want to be cool.
Football.
It's World Cup. I think my favorite part of the World Cup, watching it on Telemundo, is when the guy yells goal for like an obsessively long amount of time.
Yes. I think that, so I have not been watching it on Telemundo, which I've gotten yelled at for not watching it on Telemundo because I want to understand and I can't. I am so not able to. I know, but it's such a better experience. I know it's a better experience. I am a dork. I should do that. But yeah, I'm a slacker. I don't know what to tell you, Jackye. I am a slacker. So
no, you're not a slacker. You're just, missing out on the full opportunity. I'll do it for you after the show. But we wanted to talk today as they're wrapping things up. Today's a very important game. We're going to post this very slightly edited to give everybody the journey because today is the big game between Argentina, right, and England.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And we wanted to talk because there's a little known fact about Argentina. Do you want to share? Do you want me to share? Do you want to
go?
Okay. So the little known fact is that there are actually no Black or Afro, like from the diaspora of Africa, on the Argentina team. It is the only team out of 48 squads with no Black people on it.
That's nutty.
That's wild.
Right.
And we have to go back historically to talk about it.
First of all, tell us why, Jackye. Tell us why that's the case.
Well, it is exactly why you think it is. So historically, Argentina, we already know, like, the world was like, we don't like Black people and we don't want brown people. All of the people saying, oh, you're dark or whatever, trying to have all these people. And they did have Black people in Argentina. If you go and you can see the impact. But they wanted to get closer to European whiteness. And the majority of people, when they were colonized, the people came from Spain and Italy and Argentina.
Yes.
And so they wanted to really assimilate around, deliberate European immigration policies. They had racial reclassification, and they literally try to erase Afro-Argentines.
It is so fascinating, because you think about where Argentina is located. So for those of you who are in the US, we are not very good on geography. It's in Latin America. And I just call that out because I think sometimes we don't know exactly where, I didn't know where that was until I looked it up and realized it's off of the African continent. By the way, that is my favorite team. If we can go into that at some point as well, Jackye, because I want to discuss their goalkeeper and how amazing he is and how he's getting all these brand deals. It makes me so happy. But all that being said,
I think it's just fascinating because I don't think we pay attention. Like, we think about eradicating a whole group of people and people are like, oh, that doesn't happen, or it couldn't happen, or it wouldn't happen. It absolutely can. It has and is.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about the impact of colonization, like not to get too off over in it, but like when we're talking about like reparations for like slavery or what has happened to Black people, you know, from Africa, like historically, all of these things that have happened. And then you're talking about, you don't hear about this as like a genocide or like the horror or the atrocities that have happened to people that built a full country and eradicating a whole race from a country.
Right.
Never heard of it.
Right.
I think that's the most important part of this story. Why haven't we heard about it? Why isn't it like, you know, it's an apartheid type situation, or is it worse than that? And why don't we talk about it? And
well, like it did work what they were trying to do, because you had that European migration, as you mentioned. You had these, you know, what I'll call like whitening policies to have a white nation, or, you know, white nationalist nation.
They're not Latinos either.
No.
They don't like to be referred to as Latinos.
But it also, they did something
it's
that
not
I
a Latin country, right?
No, I mean, it is, but it's not, right? But I think it's also, they did something that I think a lot of, we still do in the US as well, where they preyed upon Black people to join different wars throughout their throughout their history, and put them on the front lines. So they were eradicated from that perspective as well, where it was, you had, you know, all of these folks on the front line that were killed, and that took out a lot of the population as well. So I think it's one of those things that there were like multiple facets, as you said, that were at work to try and create this white environment, state, whatever you want to call it. And it is just like, how sad is that is the way that they approached it. But now you're seeing, however many years later, you know, 100 years later, because it was around 1920 that a lot of this was happening, or, you know, kind of that was when it came to fruition. And now, you know, in 2026, you're looking at this going, there's not one player who's Black or of Afro descent on their team. And so this is like, I think it's just such a history lesson, first off, like to say, like, this is what happens when you try to eliminate races and eliminate those cultural differences. It actually just makes you not as diverse and not as strong as you could be.
I mean, and I think it's a story, right? Like, I think there's more to it. And this has happened throughout the World Cup, I think every year, because it is one of the, you know, it's the World Cup. It isn't the Waco Cup. It's the World Cup. So it's like, you know, it's the only team where you're like, where are the Black people? And you're like, and they kind of like, oh yeah, they just kind of blow it off like a history lesson. That's fine when that happened. But why is it perpetuated? Why is it welcome other groups? And it's not, we're using Black and brown as a really broad brush, but they have a
100%.
whole different immigration policy. And they won last year, right? Or the last time they had the World Cup.
Well, 4 years ago. Yeah.
So like, you know, when you think about those kind of things, we should talk about the history. You would think, like, if especially bringing it to your attention, that you would make sure that, to me, it's like, oh, maybe we have overlooked some players. Like, what does your pipeline of talent look like? Are you looking at people from everywhere? You don't want to be, because it affects the fans as well. So historically, It's happened several times where people have made like racist comments from Argentina, and it's not just Argentina. I mean, stuff happens, but like there are that happens, and then what are we doing about it? Is there anything that needs to be done about it? I think
it's an awareness piece, but it's more of, it's a history lesson of, this is what happens when you try to eradicate, you can eradicate an entire population of people. And how sad is it that that's where we are today, especially knowing the rich history of the immigration that did happen there throughout history. So it is one of those, like, this isn't great. This is a sad situation. And it is something that you don't want to see this. You actually want to see that diversity, and all the other teams are so diverse and have such rich historical context. And like this one, Argentina's not a popular team, because of the fact that FIFA has basically rolled out the red carpet and given them every call and everything. So I think it's like one more nail in the coffin, if you will, of why people hate Argentina.
Why they're getting the bird for
not
me.
supportive. Yeah. What?
They're getting the big bird from me.
Right. Well, but it's also like this is also the like colonizer versus colonizer conversation that, you know, you have England, who like historically has been the colonizer of all colonizers, and yet they're like favored by so many people because of the fact that Argentina is so bad and has done such not great things
Shady,
historically.
But here's the thing that there are two things that I want to bring up that we don't talk about. Like I was laughing. I'm like, oh, I'm all about England because I'm 12%. 12%. I didn't know. It gets worse.
You're
For
ridiculous.
those of you, if this is your first episode or you haven't been here for the last 13 million years that we've done this podcast, the big joke is my tossed salad ancestry DNA. And the longer that I have it, I'm like 3% Celtic. I don't know. I'm like the mutt of all people, but my grandfather was from England. So go England. So it's like, yeah, it's colonizers, but I'm part of that colony. Like
Now,
and
yes.
so it's like trying to come to grips with your own country. But what I want people to also think about how these things happen. Why did it happen? I also want people to realize, like, in the United States right now, as we fast track European and white South African that have a fast track in the United States for immigration right now. Like, tell me they're not trying to, like, it's not Europe, but whitenize like the United States. That's on purpose to put forth whatever crazy mission that is going. It's not, it's like, it's more than that. And so we need to know that this happens, it exists, and they've said it didn't work in Cuba, it's worked in Argentina, and it won't work in the United States, but they're making that play.
Right.
So it's helpful to know that, yes, this has happened, and this is part of a playbook that we've seen before.
Right. Absolutely. And I think this is where like the, you know, history repeats itself unless you learn history and unless you know history. And I encourage everyone to go and just like, it doesn't take a lot of deep research. You can Google it and it'll come up with 20 different things that it'll tell you about why this all happened. So it's not going to take a lot of work or a lot of effort to find out what is the historical context here. And so I think that's something that like, this is where we need to educate ourselves. We need to have that critical thinking, which I think we are lacking across the board in so many ways. And so I think that that's part of it. But I want to go back to what I was mentioning, though, about like the refs and FIFA, you know, kind of, I think it's islands, actually, but, you know, tiny 500,000 people is their population versus a Argentina, a England, a Norway, or whatever. And so you saw that the fix was in, and it just goes to show you like the corruptness of all of these different organizations. And we don't even need to get into the Trump factor of him, you know, trying to get involved in everything that was going on with the USA team, which quite honestly backfired so badly, but also like put such a cloud over the US team.
It does, but it's so typical. And then also like one of my favorite quotes from Talladega Nights: if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Because like it is the World Cup. Like when people got mad about Biden like pardoning his son, you shouldn't be president. You're not, I mean, okay, you got the ultimate place. Like of course I would expect it. It doesn't mean that I like it. It doesn't mean that, you know, it's more, I agree with it morally. But of course that's something that I would expect. I would never have expected. But I mean, hey, give it a go. It didn't do anything. It makes us look like it just falls in line. I do think one thing that has been great that we have not looked at in a while because of what's been happening politically. It was great watching all of these people from other countries enjoy the things in the United States that we've taken for granted. I mean, like
Waffle House
week. Try don't sell out the Waffle House. I mean, and I love the Waffle House, but also not that great. And the line is out there. I mean,
it's a waffle.
It's not a Belgian waffle.
It's kind of like, for me, I put Waffle House in the same bucket as you can't eat it when it's light out.
And you can't eat it all the time. Like you're not, it's not.
No, but like you can't catch me having Jack in the Box or Waffle House when there is sun out, like when it's daytime. It's a nighttime activity only, period. It's kind of like Denny's, same thing. A moon's over my hammy cannot be enjoyed during the day.
Moon's over my hammy at night. During the day, it's a gross egg sandwich. But it's been nice watching people enjoy that and enjoy the culture. And it's been nice looking at how people have been showing up throughout the United States, because there are things that we're proud of. It
Yeah.
was great looking at the feedback of people at AT&T Stadium, which we call Cowboy Stadium, because
Yeah.
our God's team, even though if so, God has not been shining on them. But that's a different episode. Like the people were like, oh my gosh, there's air conditioning. It just says so much about us as United States citizens. Why would we play? Wait, you've been playing?
Well, like I'm going to tell you something, and this is slightly off topic, but the first time that I went to a Minnesota Twins baseball game in Target Stadium up in Minnesota. I don't know if it's even Target Stadium anymore. This is when I was working for Target 5 million years ago. There were heaters in the suite. And I was like, I don't understand, because like in Arizona, we would never have a heater at a baseball game. And like it's 400 degrees out when people are playing baseball. And I just remember like looking at that, like that's the weirdest thing ever. But then I was like, oh no, because it's freezing here always. It's always cold. But it's the same thing of like having AC. It's such a normal thing for all of us, where Europe, they're
even
like,
a heater. Like we have both traveled internationally, and I think it is so funny. I've seen, especially in Europe, like at a pub where people are all outside and it's like literally snowing and 3 degrees. Like go inside, people.
Yeah.
But
also, we have heard the stories recently about this heat wave that's going on in Europe, and no one has AC. And it's becoming like a major issue. But again, global warming is just a joke. It's not real, Jackye. So just for our listeners.
But well, Clay was in Fashion Week in Paris.
Oh, yes.
And they went because their friend had an Airbnb and had extra bed. And, my boo-boo was there for 5 minutes and there was no air conditioning. And they were like, I'm leaving. I'm going to get my own.
Right. Thank you so much for your time.
I appreciate it. And, I'm glad that they've made better life choices than I did at 26. And they had the money and the ability to get their own. But like, this is real. They're like, there's no air conditioning anywhere. So they've been able to appreciate that. We have ice in all of our drinks. We do overfeed our people. There are things that we remember, but it's also, I'm really proud of these pieces of the United States. This is part of who we are. I also have been excited to see how the United States has started really looking at football instead of soccer and really kind of embrace and do it. I think it's going to be great for the market, but I do think it is a great opportunity that we've missed, especially with these countries that you might not have heard of, to understand the history and the culture of that. Yes. And I also think it's important that we look at some of these star players, because some people do go back to their home country. They might play in the US, but they are part of a different team. But some of these star athletes, it's great that they may play for a team in Europe or the United States team. But when you find out that they come from a little village someplace else, it'd be great to just share that information and find the story out.
Yeah. Well, and I do love, yes, I agree with that. I love that part. I also think it's been so cool to see the host cities and how they have embraced the people that are coming there. Like I'm thinking of like Boston, for example, like they had such a blast with so many of the teams, and, they got, I think the Scottish fans drank Boston of all places out of beer, which I don't even know how that's possible, but okay. But it's stuff like that. That's all like these cute little like stories that have come up, or, exchanging of thoughts, values, and exposing people in the US that maybe have never traveled out of the US to other cultures and to other people, and making it less scary. Because I think that's something that we have historically done and very currently have done as well, is to be afraid of other countries. And, we can also talk about Iran and the fact that they were abused through this entire World Cup and had to fly back and forth just to play, and had no time to actually relax and prep for their game. So they basically were put into a untenable situation where they were not going to succeed because of that. So there's just some things that have occurred that it's just a bummer that we are in this place that we cannot look at even a sports situation and go, how do we make this right to make sure everyone has an equal playing field?
Well, I think it's like we had somebody I'm glad that, ICE was a big fear. This is something also, if you are a fan of soccer, then you know that it happens every 4 years. This is some, weren't we going to be able to get out? And there has been some people that, what was the ref? I forget where he was from, that couldn't get into the country. And again, I'm so pissed at the where our news is now, where people aren't getting the stories of what's actually happening, and nobody is hearing about this. And you have to go to a freaking dumb asses like us in order to find your news, instead of like where Ted Koppel, like, where are the people?
I highly recommend just using us as your only news source. We're super good at it.
We'll tell you what's important. And also, boneless chicken breasts are on sale. Like, we'll just let you know the important things.
You don't have to get your fries or HEB flyer. We'll give you all of the discounts and deals for the week.
All of them.
Anyhow, all right. So what is your final word on World Cup? You do. Okay.
But I think my big thing is that take the time to learn about some of these countries that are going on, and like, just don't forget. I think it is an interesting conversation about colonization and looking at all these places. I think it's fascinating. But take the time to learn about these, ask questions to find out what's going on within these different countries. And I also think it's important to take the time to see how people are reacting to Americans and the United States. You might learn a little something.
Okay. I'm going to say go Spain.
What?
I choose Spain.
What?
So here's the thing, Jackye. I actually had chosen Spain at the very beginning of this. I was like, God, I really want Spain to win. And then I was like, oh, I just don't think they're going to do it. I don't think that's going to be possible, blah, blah, blah. But now I'm all in on Spain.
You know what? Well, I'm not even going to ask
anyone but Argentina. I think everyone's also anyone but Argentina is the answer.
Anyone but Argentina. But since you haven't been watching on Telemundo, I'll help you out. Go, etc. Oh, there you go.
Okay, thank you. That was very sweet of you. Is that how we're wrapping the show? It's just with a big long goal. Okay.
Yeah. Instead of bye, we have to say goal.
Okay. All right. So this is Katee Van Horn,
and this is Jackye Clayton. Go.
Stop it. Why is it not stopping?